We here at the Big Three Sportscast realize that it's kind of hard to listen to a full hour and a 50-minute podcast when you don't have that much time on your hands. So, we're leaving more, smaller segments. We're going to start clipping them and putting them together and giving you guys the best moments of the show. Probably 2 to 3 videos a week extra on top of our actual full-length podcast. If you want to hear the full podcast, link will be in the description along with a whole playlist of everything we've recorded. So far, we're only 2 weeks in, so there's only 2 episodes. But so on as far as we go forward, there will be more. So, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave feedback, ways you guys think we can improve. We hope you guys do enjoy, and don't forget to come back next week when we record week 3, talking about whether the Warriors dynasty is done.
Well, so we had a bunch of different trade rumors happen at the last kind of end of the free agency period that happened. It's very wrap up, as we all know, free agency is pretty much done at this point, and there was a lot of moves in July and near the end of July, but now it's on to August where the NBA free agency falls off. But the latest rumors are that the Denver Nuggets, could be trying to acquire Bradley Beal for Otto Porter Jr., Harris, and a couple draft picks, which would be very interesting to see if Bradley Beal actually goes over and leaves the Wizards finally. And there's also a couple of trade rumors about Kevin Love maybe going to the Spurs in exchange for possibly LaMarcus Aldridge or DeMar DeRozan. Not quite sure if that will happen yet, as Kevin Love currently is not in the best situation in Cleveland, if we are all being honest here. And that's just basically the first one we got, is the NBA end of the free agency trade rumors, because the next ones these are the biggest ones that are happening right now. Everything else is basically the NBA is now settling after their free agency period and getting ready to go into their summer vacation pretty much until they go into training camp.
I mean, the way I see it is, if you're the Washington Wizards and you really want to get something out of Beal, you got to trade him this year. You can't wait much longer.
Yeah,
because he's going to be in his prime. He's going to be the best he's probably ever been in the next 2 to 3 years. And he's a good player. He shoots pretty well from the 3. He's above, I think, 35%. So
yeah, he is. Well, his career, yeah.
Yeah, but so I mean, that's really good, and he can, if he keeps working on his jumper and everything, he's gonna get even better. But I think the Nuggets need that. They have a lot of good players. They have Jokic. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name. Their point guard. Oh my, this is not good.
I can't remember it either, but I do know that one thing. Michael Porter. No, that's a small forward. But I do know this about Bradley Beal as a Wizards fan myself, or former Wizards fan mainly. His first few years in the NBA, he was very rough. It was not going as great as many had predicted, but he was still, very young talent. But his last 3 years have been the best productive years of his career. And the last year he played was actually the best year he's had in the NBA. He averaged 25.5 points. His three-point percentage went down a little compared to some previous years, but his field goal percentage was the highest. His attempts were the highest. He played the most games. Well, he actually tied for the second year. 82. He played all 82 games. I mean, in terms of minutes played, he even had the highest minutes played as well. Everything was up besides his 3-point percentage. And I think that's kind of like a big selling point right now for the Wizards is he's going into his prime right now. He's only 25. He'll be going into his prime, and he's already, showing clear signs of indication that he's getting better and better every single year, especially with his points going up per game. So I think this is, if the Wizards are going to really command this rebuild that they're trying to do, or whatever they're trying to do with their team, now would be the time to trade him if they're going to, because you're not going to get a better chance than right now.
The Nuggets point guard's Jamal Murray. I can't believe I forgot that.
Jamal Murray, yes.
He had a really good year last year. I kind of feel bad. But I really do. I think that would actually be a good trade for the Nuggets and the Wizards. Maybe the Wizards can try and pry a couple draft picks out, because in all honesty, they need to. They can't get rid of John Wall. His contract is way too bad.
Awful.
It's literally the worst contract in the NBA, followed only by Chris Paul. But Chris got traded, so not really a bad contract for the OKC anymore, because they need somebody to keep their lights on there, and he's going to be the one to do it. But honestly, back to Beal. Beal I think he's going to be really good. And I think if he goes to the Nuggets, I would have to change my whole playoff picture because I think the Nuggets ended up second last year in the playoff picture.
Yeah,
And the only
what's
reason they
that?
really didn't go any farther was because they have Jokic, they have Nikola Jokic, who is good. He is a star. He's on his way to be a superstar one day. And I mean, he's only getting better. Jamal Murray's going to only get better. But to have that third person who can knock down the three, who can shoot from anywhere on the floor, that would be huge for them.
They
They
also
just
really didn't have any veteran players, anything with a lot of history in the playoffs or whatnot. A very young team still that the Nuggets were
yeah,
and are.
and
So that was another big problem they had.
yeah, and it's gonna be definitely interesting this year. I actually have a surprising spot for the Nuggets this year. You guys probably will completely disagree with me, but
More than
again,
likely.
yeah,
Your mic's
probably.
cutting a little
We'll
in
talk
and out
about
there,
that
bud.
later, though. But so that's the first trade rumor. You also talked about Kevin Love. Kevin Love kind of getting up there in the age. He's not necessarily what he used to be. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily tell him time to hang him up, but he needs to honestly like think about what he is doing in the league now. Because I mean, you're playing on Cleveland. You're not really going anywhere. You were the third star on a big three in Cleveland when you won the championship. You lost two, but you were hurt. I think Love was hurt both of the ones they lost, right? Well, I know he's definitely hurt the first one
Yeah.
because he was hurt. Then Kyrie got hurt in 2015, and LeBron had to try and carry, but we knew that wasn't happening.
Well, they were all healthy when they won it.
Yeah, when they won,
So,
but
They won it, or they lost it, won it,
and lost.
it.
Yeah, in their 3-year run.
Yeah.
But Love needs to figure out like where he is in his career. A lot of people have decided to like hang it up early. I'm not saying he needs to do that, but maybe he can find like a leadership role spot on another team. Like if you said the Spurs were trying to get him.
Well, it's rumored that the Spurs had thought about trading him, or at least the Cavs might try to get
Get him out.
somebody like DeMar DeRozan from the Spurs, or LaMarcus Aldridge is something we've also heard of.
I mean, they
But
might
the
try and
big
get
one
Be a
is-
horrible
Houdini.
trade.
I mean,
the
K
big
Love
one
for
is
Houdini.
LaMarcus Aldridge for Kevin Love. I mean, it would be a very amazing trade if the Spurs somehow could get rid of LaMarcus Aldridge and get Kevin Love for that. That's really, really good for
I think that's a good trade
Spurs.
for the Spurs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, why do we call him Houdini? Do you know? Why do we call
Are we
Marcus
talking
Aldridge
about-
Houdini?
Oh, LaMarcus Aldridge. I actually don't know that one.
We call him Houdini because he disappears in the playoffs.
Oh, that's true. Now I think about
He's
it,
a
that is
regular season
very
player.
bad in playoffs.
He's a regular season player.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to see K Love go back to the T Wolves.
I think for his retirement, that'd be a good idea. But I don't. I think if he still wants to compete, the Spurs are a good spot for him. I mean, he learned from Pop. Pop's always got a good, solid team. But I think the Spurs are honestly in like a retool/rebuild, whichever one. Retooling is a lot different than rebuilding. Like retooling, you need to figure out. You can make like a couple moves, and you might be a playoff team again.
Yeah.
But if you're the Spurs, I mean, the league is shifting in a different direction than the way they've always won their championships. The league is now a 3-point shooting league. They don't necessarily have the best 3-point shooters, but they can do it at a good pace.
Yeah.
But is it really enough in this league now because everybody's able to do it?
That's true. And more about like just from like I think the specific two teams that the main trades have been talked about is with Aldridge, his contract's still pretty huge in terms of like, or he's not, his contract is small compared to Kevin Love's, who's still going to be earning 118 million over the next 4 years.
Oh my.
And yeah, but and so is DeRozan, who's going to be having I believe he's a free agent next year as well. So if the Spurs could manage to like get rid of Aldridge and get rid of Aldridge, who's 34, he's 3 years. I think he's might even be 4 years older than Kevin Love at this point. Get rid of him, send him to Cleveland, and then give Cleveland LaMarcus Aldridge, and then have DeRozan, who's still, a very good player, and just take Kevin Love, and it's kind of just like a veteran presence more so, and better than Aldridge in some ways, not always. Although here's the problem with Kevin Love is that he only played in 22 games last season. He did average 17 points,
He
but
is
his
very
shooting was
injury
way
prone.
down. And so like in general, I think if Kevin Love does want to leave Cleveland, if he does, that's pretty good fit for him into the Spurs because they shift their offense a lot around their players, who comes in, who doesn't, especially who leaves and who goes. So I think he would find it better there than the Cleveland, who's trying to rebuild. And if Cleveland brings in Aldridge on a trade, it would be more so like a very veteran presence for their young talent that they're developing, less so than Kevin Love, who still has actual talent that he's trying to produce with a team. And I think Aldridge is on his way out quicker than Kevin Love will be.
Okay. What do you see?
I mean, there's
man?
a 3-year difference between the two. Aldridge is 34 and K Love's 31. So
I mean,
you get a little bit more out of Kevin Love than you would LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, I mean, but Love's hurt so much, so it's kind of like I'm saying it's putting mileage on him. Yeah, it's putting mileage on his body and everything. I mean, these guys run up and down the court. Basketball is definitely a lot harder than people think. I mean, it's a lot of sprinting and running.
Yeah,
I think it was Bradley Beal ran because I mean he's having to carry the Wizards on his back. I think they said he was running the most out of any player in the league. He was running up and down the court the most, and I can't remember how many. Like there's like miles.
Which is kind of crazy to think when you still have point guards in the league who are supposed to be technically that player who runs up and down the most.
Well, I mean, when Wall got hurt, Beal was basically that, so it makes sense.
It does.
But then, like, on to our last one that we kind of looked at, Iguodala. Right. I mean, Iguodala, the way I think it's going to happen, because he plays for the Grizz right now after being traded from the Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the way he's going
the Warriors and then went to the Grizzlies.
I think they're going to let him go. I don't think they really can get much out of him for a trade. Sorry, I had a hiccup. That really hurt. I don't know what they can really get out of him. Like, well, when you trade somebody who's, I mean, he's been in the league a long time.
Yeah,
he's playing with AI when AI was in the league. That's pretty long.
Still good on the Sixers.
The years,
yeah, right.
Mainly just for Iguodala himself. There seems to be only one team super interested in him right now. Now I'm sure a bunch of teams are, but there's one team specifically that he's apparently spoken to some sources or however it works and said he would be most interested in the Lakers right now. And the Lakers still have one roster spot remaining, their final roster spot.
Mm-hmm.
And they are holding it. The GM of the Lakers, the new manager, said they're going to hold they plan to keep their final roster spot open for a possible buyout or trade candidate. So it seems to most people in the league are thinking that they are hoping Iguodala and the Grizzlies can come to an agreement with the Grizzlies and Iguodala to probably get that last spot B for them, so they'd have a reliable sixth man to come off the bench.
Well, that's kind of like their rosters all over the place, like the Lakers roster. It's not necessarily a bad thing, their roster, because they are a veterans roster, but they're very old. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think the Lakers need to have Kuzma come off the bench as a sixth man and just control the second unit. But I think picking up Iguodala would be their... Not necessarily. I'm not saying he's their only option, but he is their best option for that last roster spot because he would shore up the defense, he would build a brick wall there because that's what he does. He's a good two-way player, but he's not obviously the best. But that's what the Lakers need because they've got so much. I mean, I know Boogie doesn't like to play defense. AD's good. AD will play defense. Kuzma plays defense when he wants to. LeBron's getting up there in age. He's not going to play defense unless he really wants to. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jared Dudley, he's not much of a defender. He's kind of older. He's a good sharpshooter. He's a shooter.
Unfortunately,
but he's old too.
That's true. Unfortunately for the Lakers, though, it seems like they might have a big issue getting Iguodala. Is because apparently somebody reported that the Grizzlies are expected to hold on to him unless they can get at least a first-round pick in return for him.
That's not.
And there's so few teams who that can offer a first-round pick that they might not get that. So it could happen. It could happen that he could be just bought out entirely by the Lakers. That's another option.
But, you mean by the Grizz?
By the Grizzlies. But again, at the same time, I don't see Iguodala being worth a first-round pick. Maybe to some teams if they're desperate, but I don't think he'll be first-round pick material since so few teams even have that option.
Yeah, I agree. You got any input on that, Dan?
No, y'all covered it all without me even have to pitch any notes.
True.
I mean, also he would be a good fit for Houston because they need somebody who's going to actually play D on that team. I think surprisingly, James Harden plays defense when he wants to, but he has, I believe he led the league in deflections, which is just like tip passes and stuff. But even then, that's not enough. Like, they need somebody who is going to play defense.
Yeah.
Which they play a different style of basketball compared to everybody else. They play Mike D'Antoni's 7-second offense. Like, get down there, put up it's either close to or long three. Well, not necessarily long three, but either a close to or a three. We're not shooting that mid-range game. So there's that.